All right, we're going to do a little bit of talking, and then we have some tools that you will see how to use, and then you get to try things. And then we have a couple things to do outside, including pumping the water, which is what the other group was doing. So we're going to begin with a map that says Bloomfield in the 1830s. And yes, there were people living on this very property in the 1830s. A family named Pearsall, George and Mary Pearsall, came from Albany, New York, brought their family here to live. And adults, they bought 80 acres for $2 an acre. I want that. That'd be nice. All right, so here's a picture. This is actually the log cabin where we just were. Yeah, it's an outhouse, but it's for pretend, but that's what they would have had in the 1830s. Please don't do that, okay? All right, so this is not the house in the 1830s, but it's a picture of a house. All right, the nearest town is up here. It's called Pontiac. Have you heard of Pontiac? Yeah. We still have Pontiac, and Pontiac was here in the 1830s. That's where we'd have to go to a general store to buy things or trade for things that we needed. All right, do you know directions? We're living here, we go to Pontiac. Which direction is that? North. North. Up is north, right, usually on most maps. Okay, there's a line here, maybe the people close can see it, but it says Woodward. Have you heard of Woodward Avenue? Yeah. We still have Woodward Avenue, and it was there in 1830. Woodward Avenue was the first main road in Michigan, and it's even today called Michigan Route Number 1. The first main road, Woodward Avenue. The settlers followed an old American Indian trail, and the Native Americans were following animal trails. And it went from Pontiac up here all the way down to Detroit on the Detroit River. So Woodward's been here for a long time. All right, so Mr. Pearsall moved his family here from New York, and they stayed about 25 years, and then in the middle 1800s, a family named Williamson lived here. They raised sheep, and they had an apple orchard, and they were here until the 1900s, and then other people have lived here, but people really did live here. And one reason Mr. Pearsall brought his family was because of something that was done in New York State. Have you heard of the Erie Canal?
Yeah.
Oh, good, okay. No, well, now you have. Erie Canal was really just a big ditch with water in it, about 8 to 10 feet deep, and it was dug by hand with shovels. Can you imagine doing that? It was finished in 1825. It connected Albany with Buffalo. And you may not have heard of Buffalo, but it's where Niagara Falls is. You've heard of that, haven't you?
I've been
okay.
before.
So if people wanted to move from Albany to, say, Michigan, they'd put all their things on one of these flat-bottom boats. And look at the boat. You don't see any sail, no oars, no motor, certainly. The way the boat moved along was it was towed by an animal. This looks like a mule. They could have used a mule or a horse or an ox, and it towed it, it pulled it along the tow path. All right, so they would put all their things on that boat and go to Buffalo. There they'd put all their things onto a big lake steamer and go across Lake Erie to the port of Detroit. And at Detroit, they'd take their things off, they put them in a horse and wagon, and they'd come out here to the land that they had bought, okay? So in this book, it was written by one of our Bloomfield Hills teachers, and they're pretend letters of children who might have lived in those times. So this is a letter from a little girl to her friend. Her best friend moved away. Have you ever had a best friend move away? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's really sad, isn't it? So pretend you're maybe writing to your best friend here. Dear Hannah, I was so excited to get your letter. You sound happy in your new home in the Michigan Territory. Father is thinking about moving us there too. He has wanted to leave Albany for some time now, but the trip across New York takes so very long. They say it takes a month with a horse and carriage. Now they're talking about the new Erie Canal. They say it makes the trip much faster. We could be in Buffalo in 8 days. So 8 days is better than a month, right?
It's a day and a week.
Very good. Imagine that. Father tells me that where you live is the Wild West. Is it wild, Hannah? Are there ferocious animals where you live? Yes, there are. Write soon. I miss you so much, your friend Laura. So that was a make-believe letter. And the people who already lived in Michigan wanted more settlers to come, because if we could get enough people living here, we could apply to be a state. Have you studied yet what year Michigan became a state?
Nope.
No.
Well,
It's an honest answer. Any of the parents know?
we just finished.
1837. 1837. So the Pearsall family came in 1830, and 7 years later, there were enough people living there. Okay, so boys and girls, we're going to talk about building our house. And I like hands. What should we do first to build a log house? Yes, sir?
Let's get wood
Okay, where are we going to get wood?
from trees.
Trees, okay. There's a big axe for chopping down a tree. Okay. Or we could saw the tree down. Can you see the big saw at the top there? How many people would it take to, very good, two, there are two handles, a handle on each side. So you'd saw down the whole tree, and then you would cut the trunk into the right lengths for your walls. And to do that, we use a slightly smaller saw, which is over here. You might think sawing was easy, but it's a little tricky. You have to take turns pulling, not pushing. If you push, the blade tends to get caught. So it's pull, pull. You have to keep the blade level. If you do this with it, it's not going to cut. And you have to keep the blade pretty much in the center, because if you pull it all the way to the handles, it gets stuck. Okay, so now we have the logs we need for our walls. How are we going to hold the walls together? Yes, sir?
I think sometimes they did do nailing, and
Here,
they did
okay,
stabilize it.
okay, thank you. That's a very good answer. What, did you have something else?
Sometimes they would use like dirt and
Mud, right, you
so
could use mud. That's a good answer too. One more. Sap, they had sap, but I don't think there'd be enough to use it that way. So people, those are good answers. People usually don't guess nails, but you did, because people think there aren't nails. But yes, there are nails in the 1800s. But the problem with nails is the same as with kerosene. We cannot make our own nails. We have to ride into Pontiac and pay money at the at the blacksmith to make nails for us, and we don't have much money.
Right.
Excuse me. So instead, yeah, sometimes we trade. Instead, we're going to use something we have a lot of, and that's wood. Can you see the wood pegs on the walls? All right, we're going to make wood pegs. But what we need are round pegs. So to do that, we have to shave off these edges. And we have a special bench called a Schnitzel Bunk, which is German for cutting or shaving bench. Put the piece of wood under this block to hold it down. There's a pedal to put your feet on, except this just turned over. We want the corners, so we can do the corners. One more, here we go. I'm putting my feet on the pedals. All right, this we don't need. This is called a draw knife. There are handles, there is a blade, yes. But what you're going to do is draw it over the wood towards you to shave off the corner. You're working out here. It gets nowhere near your body. There's no way you can get hurt. So you just put it down, you pull it toward you gently, and if you get a piece of wood off, you know you're making progress. But you just pull it, draw it toward you. That's why it's called a draw knife, to shave off that corner. If it's not working for you, just pretend, okay? But this is a new knife, and it actually does work well, so we'll help you. All right, so now we have round pegs. Now we need, excuse me, I'm adults, I'm gonna get something behind you. Oops, careful. Augers, A-U-G-E-R. There are two blades here and a point. So you're going to put the point in one of the holes that you want to work on. I put my foot there to hold the log. All right, let me get the point is. All right, I'm going to push down and turn it clockwise, the way the hands of a clock go. So push, all right, just a minute. Push and turn, and push and turn. And if you get some shavings, like I got half a shaving, that means it's working. But just pretend. That's the way you would do it if you're really doing it. If we were using nails, we would use a metal hammer. But since we're using wood, we're using a wooden mallet to pound with, M-A-L-L-E-T. Okay? Now, suppose we're working with our knife or our axe and we find it's getting dull. Do you see anything in here we could use to sharpen it? What do you see?
I think.
Just point. What do you see?
I think I forgot.
Okay, that's fine. Honest answer, yes. Okay, good, right here. This is, and I would have called on you, but you already did sawing. So this is called a grindstone. It's one piece of sandstone, and it's for sharpening things. The way it works, used to work, is there's a pedal down there that was connected with this piece of metal to the wheel to make it go round. So if you're doing it yourself, you'd pedal and the wheel go round and you'd sharpen your knife like this. But that broke. So now we have to use our handle, which turns the wheel, but it falls off. So when you're turning, if it falls off, you didn't break it. That's just the way it is. All right, here's what we're sharpening. This is another kind of draw knife. This used to be straight across, but people are sharpening it by holding it like this. Is that going to sharpen it? No, that's what happened to it. It's got this big dip in the middle because people weren't sharpening it right. You have to hold it flat against the wheel and very gently. All right, were you the one that pointed it out? Yes, you were. All right, you come on over. How about the young lady next to you too can demonstrate it? Can you stand here and you can turn the wheel first? If you'll stand here, once you get, stand there. Make it go around either way and it'll fall off. Okay, she's got to go in gently against it. That's right. Oops, yeah, I know. I don't like that handle.
Push it.
Well, yeah, easier said than done. Okay, make it go around. Okay, don't push hard or you'll stop it. Think of a butterfly wing. Gentle. There, that. Do you feel? Okay, you got to go a little faster. Don't push hard. There, that's it. Good. Yeah, there we go. Do you know what oxen are? Big stone cows? Okay. So you'd have two of them, and they'd put their heads through the holes, that's right. And then the metal ring you would attach to a wagon or a plow, and they would pull the plow or the wagon. They'd help you do work. It's called a yoke. A yoke, but not like an egg yolk. An egg yolk is Y-O-L-K, that's Y-O-K-E. All right, that's a yoke for animals to help you do work. Here's a yoke for people. Yeah, you put it on your shoulders. Remember that was in the story, right? Remember the buckets of water you brought this morning. Your hands would get tired carrying buckets of water. So if you tie the buckets on the end, your shoulders are stronger than your hands. So this will help you do the work.
Something else that you use that for?
What's that?
Maple sap.
That's right, maple sap. We absolutely would be using it like in the story. So I'm going to come around and let you see what it would feel like, okay? Whoops. Just sit down. Okay? It may not feel great, but it would be easier than carrying heavy buckets in your hands. And as Auntie said, we would use this in the maple syrup season because we have to carry, remember, 40 gallons of sap to boil down to make 1 gallon of syrup. Way heavy, right? You kids, one of the groups had a heavy bucket. This is upside down, but here's a big handle. And there's a big blade. Does anyone have an idea what we'd use that for? Yes, sir, in the blueprint.
To hunt.
No, not exactly. Yes, sir.
I think to like chop something.
You're closer. Chopping would imply really sharp and hard, but yes?
You into the ground?
No, not into the ground.
Or something?
Carry something? No, it's a blade. Oh, it's way too big. Yes, yeah, last one.
Shaving off like the wood.
Okay, no, it's not that sharp. This is something you'd use in your field. You'd hold the blade and you'd swing it and it would cut your crops, your hay, your wheat, your oats. And it's called, is that what you're going to say? Then you were right. It's, okay, you're saying the correct word but not the right pronunciation, a scythe. Scythe. S-C-Y-T-H-E, a scythe. Yep. The crop falls onto the rake part, and then you can flip it into a pile or into your wagon. So you're doing two things at once with that one. All right, how about up here? We have a wheel. There are points here. There are handles. Yes?
So you would use it to like roll on the ground to do
On the ground, right. It's a plow. It's a plow, but not a plow for an animal to help you with. A person would hold those handles and push it through the hard ground, and that could be hard. Okay, this is a seed planter. So we put our seeds in here, and there's a tube to go down. There are 2 blades here. So you start with the handles open, which makes the blades close. So it's down in the ground. When I push the handles together, it opens up the blades, so you have a little hole. The seed goes into your hole, and then you pull the handles back, and it closes the dirt over your seed. So now to plant my row, I can just go like this. Isn't that easier than bending over? The ladders from their orchard in the 1850s. Do you see anything different about that ladder from ladders today? What's different?
It's only made out of wood.
Good, it is made out of wood. What else is different? I don't see hands. Yes.
Usually, our ladders we can fold.
Oh, right, 2 sides, you're right. Yes?
It doesn't go straight like a ladder. It goes.
Very good. Look at the 2 ends. They're not the same, okay? So if you want to put the ladder against an apple tree to climb up and pick apples, which end are you going to put on the ground? The wide end or the shorter end? The wider end. It'll make it more sturdy. Yes, what is your question?
It doesn't look that sturdy.
I just said.
Well, actually, I think it looks pretty well put together. It's all wood. The pegs go through holes, and I think it'd be pretty good. All right, so here's what we're going to do, boys and girls. That's it. We have sawing. Would one of our adults be willing to supervise sawing? Do you mind, Uncle? No, that one's over there, okay? All right, so, okay. Well, do you mind doing the Schnitzel Bunk then? Okay, great. Schnitzel Bunk means cutting bench in German. Okay, sit. So the sawing is 4 people at a time, 2 sitting and 2 sawing. Let them do like 10 to 12 times. Schnitzel Bunk like 4 or 5 times because they want to all do it and then we run out of time. Okay, the augers 1 at a time. I'm going to help with the grindstone here. We have the seed planter you can do. We have a broom. If anybody, look at the mess the other family left. We definitely need sweeping, so you can sweep it out the door. And I have one more thing you can try. Some of you may have to stand in line, but anyway. This is something that's really heavy. It's called a tamper, and we would use it outside. Let's say you had a tree growing in your field and you don't want a tree. So you chop it down with your axe, you hitch up your oxen with the yoke and pull out the stump, but now you have a hole in your field and you don't want a hole. So you put dirt in and you want to be able to pack that dirt down so you don't have a hole. This is something called a tamper. You drop it on the dirt and it tamps the earth down, makes it go down. We're not going to drop it in here because we might break the floor. But if you want to see how strong you are, hold it with 2 hands and see how many times you can make it go up and down without dropping on your toes. All right. In winter, our family's happiest times are in our cozy log house, gathered around the stove after supper each night. Only the fire and a few candles, remember you made candles, provide enough light for us to read, sew, play games, or talk about the day's activities. Come around our log carrier here, but I'm going to be on this end, so you have to be inside. Don't pick it up yet. You're in a good spot. You come around with your legs on this side.
I want to take.
You're in a good spot, okay? And you're going to be right here, but you need to come on the inside facing me, okay? So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, lift, and the 4 of them will lift it. We're going to walk around the cabin. Come with us because you'll all have a turn. Okay, ready? Put your hands on it. 1, 2, 3, lift. Okay, is anybody going to drop it? No. Okay, walk this way. The rest of you come. Here we go. Well, with 4 people, it's not heavy. That's right. And here's a swing. Okay, a little farther. Ready? 1, 2, 3, down. Nice job. So here's what this group is going to do. We're going to pick it up and we're going to carry it in the barn. Okay, you ready? Hands on it. Here we go. Put your hands on it. Come on. They need your help, Ryan. If you don't help, they can't do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, lift. Good. Okay, beep, beep. We're going in here. You okay? Beep. Why are you in the way? Okay, come on in. When we dug the well, we had to go down 60 feet to find water. That's as far down as the trees are up. It was a long way down, okay? The water has been tested. It's safe to drink. Boys and girls, you have worked very hard. I'm going to give you some playtime, but listen to your choices. If you like to pump, you're welcome to 2 at a time. If anyone's waiting, count to 5 and give someone else a turn. If it gets this full though, we have to dump it in between. The seesaw is there. It's it's 1 person on each side sitting. There's a swing, 1 person at a time sitting. Again, if people are waiting, count to 5. Let me dump this and then you can do as you like.